All right. So our primary replicator. Right? We said we're going to break up our customers by salesperson code, so we're going to put our salesperson code first. We identified it as our primary list. And what do we want to list? We want to create a list of salespeople who had a commissionable transaction. So here's where you've got a choice, and here's why I always just type out rows instead of doing the drop down. It has to do with grouping reports. I can choose rows equals 4 two different ways. The first way is I can drop this down, choose rows, and then I have to go back and hit equals 4. That works. Or I can simply just type in rows equals 4 and hit tab. I prefer this method for one specific reason. I always forget to go back and add equals 4. Always. So if I just type it out, I don't have that problem. The other side of that sword is I could very easily come in and type in rows equals 4. I could mistype it. The nice thing with this though is if I try and run this function, it's going to say, I don't know what rows is.
Well, you should.
I know. If I were to drop this down and do rows and then forget to add the equals 4, my function will still work. I have an invalid table. But it's not going to say, hey, there's an error there. And it's not going to be until I run the report and go, why is this not grouped? So I prefer the just manually type it in and wait for it to throw an error when I type poorly, because that happens a lot too. We need to go to my customer ledger entry table, right? I want to only get a unique list of customers that had a transaction. Let me fix my data source here.
I'm sorry,
going back.
I skipped something. Why did we put the equals 4?
Because our primary list, we need to create a spot for our primary list, right? Our secondary list, our secondary anchor row, and our secondary subtotal row.
Gotcha.
So typically, our primary list is going to be rows equals 4. Most commonly, that's the way it is. We can make it anything we want. As long as that secondary list doesn't go outside of the bounds of that primary list, we can make those whatever we want. So I could technically have a rows equals 4, and then embed in that a rows equals 3. But if I try and do a rows equals 4 with a rows equals 5, Jet's going to freak out and go, I don't know what that means. And it'll actually throw you an error before it even runs the report, which is kind of nice. Okay. So, customer ledger entry. What field do we want? We want salesperson code. And then we've got our 3 filters, our posting date, our salesperson code, and document type. So we want to make sure we filter on those. Posting date. Always lock that reference down. Salesperson code to D3, and we'll lock that reference down. And document type.
Could you list the, sync the document type table? Like as opposed to actually having to go in and select document type, could you go to cell D5 or C5 and link it that way, or no? You have to select it each time.
You mean the filter itself?
Yes.
I could technically go like that.
You could do that? Okay, as long as it was like spelled.
Yeah, it's spelled exactly the same, so if you want to do it that way. But if we're going to do it that way, I'll show you the better way tomorrow to do it, so. Okay. We're getting a value, great. Okay, so when you run your report, you should see JJ, JR, KL, PS, SA, TM, all with 3 spaces in between each, right? Because it's rows equals 4. I grab that first one, and then the 3 rows below it.
I got 3 people.
You only have 3 people?
Yeah, I got JJ, JR, and
Let's check your filters. Scroll down.
So that's the number of spaces we're between.
Yeah. Oh, because you have invoice space credit memo instead of invoice type credit memo. And then if you look here,
thank you.
you actually have document type of credit memo just hard coded in there instead of referencing up to the cell.
Gotcha.
So you have to fix both of those things.
Boom.
Same thing with your salesperson code, you might want to change that from a hard-coded star to reference your values up there. Now, one thing people ask me is, you know, how do I know when I need to lock my references down? In these 3 instances, I locked them down. But there have been times where I don't. When it comes to absolute references, I consider kind of a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere of my report. Anything that's in my southern hemisphere that references anything in my northern hemisphere, I have to make an absolute reference. Because this isn't going anywhere. This is on the move, right? Yes.
Same thing, so picked up.
Okay, so hit OK. Let's take a look.
Maybe just exit out.
Did we make all the changes this morning on yours?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
everything was good from yesterday.
Okay,
Been
yeah,
working-
save it, close it, and restart it. I'll head up our support team tonight and see if they've got any other ideas. It just happens to deal with that, the local file, is what they tell me. So we'll figure out what that is, hopefully. I'll tell them it worked great for most of the day and then didn't. So what I was saying is, if anything in my southern hemisphere needs to reference anything in my northern hemisphere, I make that an absolute reference. If something in my southern hemisphere references something else in my southern hemisphere, I might lock it down a column or a row, or not at all. That's where kind of judgment comes in as to what you're dealing with. But anything up here, lock that down absolutely. All right. Make sure that Paul there is up and running.
Good.
Good? Okay, so let's get our salesperson name and commission amount. Get our name, we use a first. Our table, we're gonna go to our salesperson purchaser table. That's where we've got their name. What do I wanna bring back? Their name. Where the,
It's not the salesperson code, I can't find it.
code.
I tried to oh, that's my broke.
In the salesperson purchaser table is just code.
Tricky.
That is tricky. And we'll reference back into F9. Here's where I have an option. I could lock this reference down, right, to F, right, column F, but leave 9 open. Because I know in order to get that commission amount, that's going to be another first with that same filter. So I can just copy that value over and just change my name to commission percent. Saves me some of that hassle. So that's one of those instances where I would lock that down. Again, now we're looking at our commission percent, and it's a whole number. Technically, we're now paying 500% commission. Don't want that, so let's divide that whole NL first by 100. So we get our 0.05. Instead of paying 500% commission, let's pay our 5% commission. And all I did was take my NL function and divide it by 100. All right, any other primary detail, anything else about these salespeople that I need to worry about? Let's run a report, make sure we're getting our different names here. Janice and John and Katie, Sherman. Bless you. All right, so let's get our secondary list. Let's drop down. We need to make sure we're in a different row now. We're in row number 2 of our rows equals 4 here. And we want to create a list of our customer numbers. Well, what do we want to do? We want rows. No equals 4 equals anything, just rows. Because what we want is a single row for every customer. And we're going to go to my customer ledger entry table. Why? Because I want to create a list of customers who had a transaction. If they didn't have a transaction, I don't want them on my list. As the months change, some might pop on, some might disappear, some might be there every single time. And I want to create a list of my customer numbers. Right, and I have to do this as a summary list because that customer number is non-unique. What are my filters? Posting date. I'm gonna go ahead and point up here. D3, and I lock that reference down. What else do we have? Salesperson. Now here's the rub. If I point up here, what am I gonna get? Give me the customer number for every salesperson. I don't want that. So for my salesperson code, I need to make reference to my primary list replicator over here in F9, right? Create a list of the customers associated with this salesperson. As that salesperson changes, that list of customers is going to change.
Do you have to do like an absolute, like reference it or anything?
Let's leave it open for right now. We're going to come back to that. What else do we need?
Document type.
Document type, right? We applied these filters to our primary list. I'm going to point up there, I'm going to lock that reference down. So I want to make sure I'm creating a list of customers that meet the same criteria as my primary group. So if we run it, we should see that John has quite a few customers he's selling to. Everybody else not doing too well. Or maybe John has all the little tiny accounts and everybody else has big accounts. Who knows? I guess we'll find out once we get to their total commissionable transactions. Okay.
Can I see the formula on G?
On G,
Yeah.
that's just a first salesperson purchaser table for the name. And we need to make sure we reference the code in F9. And our commission percent is going to be exactly the same, except for the field name is going to be commission percent instead of name. We good, or do you need a?
Yeah. Thank you.
Do you have your customer number replicator here? Are we good on that one?
I haven't gotten that far.
Okay. So we'll put it up where it's going to be. We need to drop down one row and. Let's see.
Oh, I'm way behind.
That's okay. We need to get all on the same page, so that way, you know, as we go through this, we're going to hit a wall soon, and I want to make sure we all hit the wall at the same time. So for right now, don't worry about your commission report or commission percent. Let's drop down and grab. So go over to your customer number, drop down one, great. And we're gonna do rows.
That's customer number.
What's wrong with this?
Yeah, it'll be a rows customer ledger entry as our
I
table.
did mine, it doesn't-
Yeah, we're on our customer number. Customer ledger entry. If you've already caught up, go ahead and get that customer number or customer name. Right. And if you want to try and tackle the total of those transactions, go for it.
Okay, but
So go ahead and run it and make sure we don't get any errors. Nope. Your primary list, we don't have a rows equals 4. So let's go back and fix that real quick. So go back to the design mode. And on your salesperson right there, we need to change that to rows equals 4 instead of just rows. So that's what I was saying is I always forget to add that equals 4, so I just manually type rows equals 4.
Can I see what you did over there?
It literally is just rows equals 4. So RWS equals 4. And that should fix that. Okay.
So what is that
And-
supposed to be doing?
Well, it's breaking up our salespeople, and then we're creating a spot for all the customers that are associated with it. Now we've got another problem here. Let's go back into our design, because now we're showing every single customer, right? What we want to say is, show me the customers with that posting date, that type, but this salesperson. So when we reference
need
our
to link.
salesperson,
I need to link that to.
we need to